If you are sitting there wondering how to get a high limit EIN only business credit card with poor or fair credit, 100% approval, guess what? You are at the right spot because I have the answers that you need. I'm going to explain to you step by step how to get a high limit EIN only business credit card with poor or fair credit and guaranteed approval. Don't go anywhere. You're going to need this. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous, if you are to ask me. If you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka and let's roll. In today's conversation, I want to speak to you about how to get a high-limit EIN only business credit card with poor or fair credit, guaranteed approval. Let's first get the overview here. First of all, when we speak about poor or fair credit, you got to look at this. You got to look at this equation from two perspectives. That's the duality of credit here. When you're an entrepreneur, you have a duality of credit. So we have to look at poor fair credit at the personal level and poor fair credit at the business level. Okay. Now, at the individual level, poor fair credit means that you are below 600. That's the mark. 600, 620. You are considered poor or fair depending on where you land in that little delta there. At the business level, first of all, business credit scores go from 0 to 100. So if you have something around 90, you are excellent. 80, you are good. Anything below, you are average or fair or poor. If you are around 50, that's really bad. So you want to analyze that. Why is it important? It's important because, as you would see later on in the show, the kind of credit card issuers that you're going to talk to, they're going to want to pay attention to that duality. Okay. You also have to understand that when we speak about EIN only business credit cards, personal credit doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because the credit decision is being made based on the solidity of your company's financials, right? And also the solidity of the creditworthiness of the business. Anyway, you still want to clean your personal credit, even if that is not a criterion upon which a credit card issuer will base his or her decision to grant you a business credit card. You still want to clean your personal credit if you feel that there are some derogatory items, there are some collections, there are some repo elements, there are some things that you should clean that are inaccurate, for example, or outdated. You want to pay attention to that. And one thing I also want to say here is that a lot of folks get it wrong when they see social security number on business credit card or business loan applications. They're not using that to pull your credit. They're not doing a hard pull based on that. That is being used for identification purposes. They only pull your credit when you haven't done the proper segregation of affairs at the personal level and at the business level. What I'm trying to say here is that if your business is not operationally, legally, structurally, and financially segregated from your personal affairs, guess what? The credit card issuer, or any lender for that matter, they are going to base their decision on your personal credit. This is what happens when people get a hard pull at the personal level and they get pissed because you haven't done the work that you should have done. We have covered this topic on other shows, so I'm not really going to spend a lot of time on this here. Okay. Now let's get into the step by step. If you want to get a high limit EIN only business credit card with poor or fair credit, guaranteed approval, the first step is you need to understand EIN only business financing. You need to understand the concept of EIN only business financing. A lot of credit card issuers and business lenders, for that matter, they want to cover their ass. They want to mitigate risk. They want to have a clear identification of the risk in terms of default risk. So that's why a lot of times they want you to have a high revenue amount. So as a business, we've seen numbers going from $250,000 all the way to $1 million. That's the minimum revenue. And they want to see a complete separation of business affairs from personal affairs, as I said earlier. And there is what we call the golden trifecta. If you want to really understand EIN only business credit cards and business loans, you want to pay attention to golden trifecta. What is it? Lenders pay attention to solid financial projections, that's number one, based on a viable business model, number two, featuring products with an amazing proof of concept, number three. That's the trifecta. That's the golden trifecta. Solid financial projections based on a viable business model, featuring products with an amazing proof of concept. If you can actually cover those three bases, you will be fine. You will get your high limit EIN only business credit card, whether you have bad credit, fair credit, no credit, low credit, doesn't matter, because you would have actually made the lender, the credit card issuer, comfortable about the prospects, the financial prospects of your business, and they can lend, they can approve the EIN only business credit card with no problem. Okay, and most small businesses don't get EIN only funding, whether it is credit card or loans. They get a personal hard pull instead, because they do not understand the trifecta that I just spoke to you about. There is no need to have sales or strong revenue. It doesn't matter. It's more important to know how to present a solid proposition to the lender. And I'll be speaking to you about that solid proposition, how to actually structure things. Step number two. So after knowing EIN only business financing, aka business credit cards and business EIN only business credit cards and EIN only business loans, now you need to plan things properly. That's step number two. You need to plan things properly, and this is so important. If you get this right, guess what? You're gonna get the high limit EIN only business card that you need. First, you need to get the EIN. We all understand EIN, employer identification number. That's very simple, no problem about it. You go on the IRS's website, you get it. It takes 5 minutes. Very easy. Then you got to take care of the legal structure. This is important. Do not believe that simply because you have an EIN, you can remain a sole proprietorship and be considered by lenders as a company. No, you got to have a business. As I said earlier, you have to segregate your affairs. You have to appear in the eyes of a lender. You have to appear operationally, structurally, legally, financially, as an entity that is separate from the founder or the founders. So you want to choose something like an LLC. It doesn't matter if you're by yourself. You can be a single member LLC. That's fine. It works. You can opt for ALP, limited liability partnership, depending on the states where you live, right? You can be a C Corp, an S Corp. There are some restrictions here, but I'm just giving you an idea of what's possible. And in planning things properly, you also want to pay employer taxes. If you have employees, you want to register with a state where you live, where you operate, and pay employer taxes at the state level and at the federal level. Everything about FICA, all the, at the state level, we have the SUDA, unemployment, FICA, FUDA, all that kind of stuff. If you are by yourself, pay self-employment tax on a quarterly basis. You want to get the necessary permits and licenses, very important. And you want to get branded. Show the credit card issuer that you are a company. You want to get a logo, you want to get a website, you want to get a promotional material, flyer, brochure, social media page, anything that will give the impression that you are legit. You have to do this. You got to do this. This is very important. Do not run your business as a side gig and expect to get an EIN only, a high limit EIN only business credit card, especially if you have fair or poor credit and you want guaranteed approval. You better be ready. Step number 3, you need to understand EIN only business lenders. Business lenders, by business lenders, I'm talking about credit card issuers, lenders, MCAs, merchant cash advances, all the constellation of players who offer business loans and credit cards to small businesses. There are a couple of things that EIN only business credit card issuers and lenders pay attention to when they determine whether or not your application should be approved. They pay attention to 6 important things. First, they pay attention to the credit. So when a small business owner requests funding, whether it is through a loan or through a credit card application, lenders almost will check the owner's personal credit as well as the business's credit. No question about it. Then you have the cash flow and income. So lenders want to pay attention to the cash flow. So they look at a statement called the statement of cash flows. So they look at the cash flow from operations, from operating activities, cash flow from investing activities, and cash flow from financing activities. And then they pay attention to the income. So they look at a statement called P&L, the profit and loss statement, or also called statement of income. And then by doing that, they're paying attention to also the debt to income ratio. The higher a business cash flow and income, the better the chances that it can get a loan or a credit card. They also look at the age of the business, because we've seen in our analysis, in our research, is that new businesses often have difficulty getting funding because most lenders and credit card issuers only lend to businesses with a track record of at least 2 years. However, we've seen that there are ways to actually counter that 2-year limitation. You can write a compelling business plan and other things you can do to actually circumvent that. They also pay attention to lenders, that is, pay attention to the current amount of debt. Because when we talk about debt to income ratio, you have the income, but you also have the debt, right? So it makes sense. They look at the collateral. Especially if you are looking for collateral-based loans, or if you have a business credit cards, an EIN only business credit card, and you want to pledge personal guarantee, they want to pay attention to that. And they also look at the industry. So during the credit card application approval process, a credit card issuer will assess the risk of your type of business, because some industries are easier to get credit cards, business credit cards, and loans than others. It's just how things work. Step number 4, folks, you want to structure your operation correctly. If you remember earlier, I was telling you about the importance of segregating your personal affairs from your business affairs. And I was telling you that it was quintessential to structure your business operationally, legally, financially, so that when a lender looks at your business, they know you are legit. It's not just about having an EIN. No, that everybody can get an EIN. Even my cat can get an EIN. All you have to do is just to go to the IRS website. You want to go beyond the EIN element and really structure things properly. How do you do that? There are a few ways to do it. First of all, you want to open a business bank account. You want to have, it can be a checking account, a savings account, it doesn't matter. You can open the account at a credit union, at a bank, at an online bank, or you can open it with some of the fintech, the latest fintech players, aka Stripe or PayPal, right? Or some of their partners. They're not, Stripe and PayPal are not banks, but they have partners, banking partners, that is. You also want to get business loans if possible. You can start with small business loans. Again, if you have poor or fair credit at the personal level, you don't have to qualify for a term loan. You can get what we call a collateralized loan. A collateralized loan, I'll get it. A collateralized loan is easier to get because you are actually pledging collateral. In other words, let's say, for example, equipment financing. That's one type of asset-based loan. It's very easy to get. And you can also try MCAs, so merchant cash advances, aka business payday loans. So you want to have those so that you can start building your business credit. Also, same thing with vendor trade lines. So what I'm trying to say here is that your modus operandi, when it comes to structuring your operation correctly, is to look for ways to make your business look legit. And by seeking vendor trade lines, you're able to gradually, little by little, establish your business credit. You want to put in place HR policies and guidelines. Some lenders, some credit card issuers, especially business credit card issuers, might ask to see your, especially if you are in a very risky industry, they might want to see your HR policies and guidelines. Let's say you are in an area where you are regulated by hazmat regulations, hazardous materials. So you have to comply with with OSHA regulations in terms of workplace safety. A lender might want to analyze your risk by looking at your policies, and also they might want to see legal documents and contracts with key vendors and customers. All right, I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another section of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. I'm still having a conversation with you here about how to get a high limit EIN only business credit cards with poor or fair credit guaranteed approval. Number 5. So number 1, you want to know EIN only business financing. Number 2, you want to plan things properly. Number 3, you want to understand EIN only business lenders. Number 4, you want to structure your operation correctly. Number 5, you want to get your paperwork ready. And let's talk about that. What do I mean by paperwork? Well, listen, if you want to get a high limit EIN only business credit card with poor or fair credit guaranteed approval, you need to have a plan. You need to have a strategy. And part of that plan is what you need to have. You need to have a business plan. A business plan that has to be compelling. That has to be replete with the right information. Anything about your business vision, sales projections, financial statements, either historical or current or projected financial statements. We're talking about 4 things, right? We're talking about the balance sheet, aka statement of financial position, the income statement, aka P&L, profit and loss statement, the statement of cash flow, aka cash flow statements, and last but not the least, stockholders' equity, the statement of stockholders' equity. Very important because you want to tell the lender who owns the business, all right? Then you want to understand also what a business credit card application looks like, especially for an EIN only. So to make things very easy for you, I have pulled out, and I'm showing this to you on the screen right now. You can see an example of EIN only business credit card application. So we have pulled out the Capital One Spark Cash for Business. You can see here. So the first snapshot, we're going to show you one snapshot at a time. The first snapshot is showing you the information about the business. Then they're asking you about additional business information. Second snapshot. And then you can go here. They're asking you about the business in terms of financials, right? You can see that there. And then the fourth snapshot, they're asking you where the business is incorporated. They are also asking your personal information. Next snapshot, you can see they want you to put your phone number and everything else, your social security number, everything. And the last snapshot, they want you to sign. This is a typical business credit card application, EIN only. So you also need to put financial projections in your when you get prepared, and you also need to have a summarized version of your business plan as a pitch. And I'll tell you why very, very soon. But you need to have that. You need to have a pitch. It could be a PowerPoint version, 5 pages, 10 pages. This, folks, what I'm telling you right now, this is not a lot of. It's not a lot of work. It's very easy. You can outsource it. If you have no neck for this kind of stuff, you can outsource it and pay someone $10, $20, up to $50 to give you a portable, a fantastic business plan or a pitch. Well, for business plan, you don't want to pay $50. You want to pay more than that, because $50 for a business plan, you're getting like a template. You don't want that. Step number 6. You need to know the types of EIN only business cards. EIN only business cards. There are several. When we speak about EIN only business credit cards, you have cards that are meant for startups and very young businesses, right? So startups, it means a company has been in existence for less than 6 months, 3 to 6 months. A young business, the company has been in existence for less than 2 years. There are EIN only business credit cards for bad credit, for fair credit. You have EIN business credit cards that allow people to redeem rewards. You have 0% purchase APR EIN only business credit cards. You have a cashback rewards for EIN only business cards. You also have Amex, American Express. Okay, and with American Express, it's another process, but they are also EIN only. It's just that they check your financial viability by linking your personal your bank account to the card, so they can see whether you're having problems or not, and they can detect very early whether you are a good candidate for them or not. So that's just it. That's just the way it is. And you also want to know that credit card issuers evaluate an EIN only business credit card application by looking at several factors. So they look at the personal credit. If the applicant hasn't structured the application properly, then the credit card issuer is left with only the personal credit, and you don't want that. Okay, so they also look at the personal debt coverage. This is another thing. If you haven't done a good job at segregating your personal affairs from your business affairs, they're going to pay attention to your personal credit and your personal debt coverage. You don't want that. What you want instead is for the credit card issuer to pay attention to your business debt coverage, to pay attention to your business's credit, to pay attention to your business debt utilization, to pay attention to your business revenue trend. This is where you want the lender's eyes to point to. Step number 7, you need to choose your preferred card issuer. This is very important. When we speak about EIN only, business credit cards with poor or fair credit, guaranteed approvals, you have different players. Actually, you have 4 players. You have banks, you have credit unions, you have financial technology companies, fintech companies, and you have alternative lenders. So banks are, you have, this is the Wells Fargo, the Citi, the Bank of America, the Chase of the world, right? Credit unions, you have the Navy Federal Credit Union, you have Consumers Credit Union, America First Credit Unions, and so on and so forth of the world. The fintech companies, you're talking about Brex, you're talking about Scale Factor, you're talking about Ramp. And then you have alternative lenders. Here we are referring to Stripe, PayPal, and so on and so forth. So that's step number 7. Step number 8, you need to shop around. And I'm going to show you how to evaluate EIN only business credit cards for poor or fair credit guaranteed approval. There are a couple of things. Actually, there are 4 things you need to pay attention to. You want to pay attention to interest. You want to pay attention to the APR. So interest and APR are correlated, even though they're not the same, because interest is part of an APR, but APR encompasses, besides interest, things like origination, things like prepayment penalty, NSF fees, annual fee, foreign transaction fee, that kind of stuff. For interest, you want to figure out whether or not you are going for a variable rate or a fixed rate. Because usually variable rates are tied to a market index such as the LIBOR or Euribor in Europe. Then you have to pay attention to the default interest. So God forbid something happens and you miss the payment. What is the default interest? What is the default interest rate? You also have to pay attention to whether or not the EIN only business credit card application, this business credit card agreement, asks for personal guarantee at the beginning of the arrangement or during the arrangement. In other words, once you have the card, and if you don't comply with the rules or with the agreement, whether or not the credit card issuer has the legal right to ask you to pledge personal collateral. You also want to pay attention to repayment. All right, in terms of the credit cards, are you paid? Do you have to pay? You have to repay the balance in full or partially? Is it on the 28th of the month, the 15th of the month, the 28th of the month? That kind of stuff. And continuing to talk about shopping around, I want to show you the different types of EIN only business credit cards. Just a few examples. So you have the credit union EIN only business credit cards. So we're showing you on the screen right now, you have Consumers Credit Union Business Visa Platinum. And we have scored this card 10 over 10. Great card. We have reviewed this cards on other shows, so I'm not going to go into details here. America First Credit Union Business Visa, 9.5 over 10. And we have Navy Federal Credit Union Go Biz Rewards card, 9.5 over 10. Those credit union cards, our suggestion, our recommendation is to go to a local branch, sit with someone, and apply for the card. Generally, based on our research, a lot of small businesses fail to, they might fail to get the EIN only business credit card if they apply online, because the algorithm tends to pull the personal credit of the owner or the applicant. So you want to go, if possible, you want to go to a physical branch. Let's talk about traditional card issuer EIN only business credit card. So you have a Capital One Spark Classic for business. Our score is 9 over 10. Then you have the Bank of America Business Advantage Cash Rewards MasterCard, 9 over 10. And then we also have the Sam's Club Business MasterCard, 8 over 10. And let me show you now the FinTech EIN only business credit cards. So you have the Brex Corporate Card for startups, 9 over 10. The Scale Factor Charge Card, 8.5 over 10. The Ramp Corporate Card, 7.5 over 10 in our analysis. Again, we have covered this rankings and this reviews on other shows. We just pulled that data from those shows into this just for illustrative purposes, okay? And then you have the Stripe Corporate Card, our score, 8.5 over 10. What I want to say before moving on is that when it comes to the credit union or bank business credit card with EIN only, please go to a physical branch. You want to speak to a live person. You want to speak to someone in their credit card or loans department, right? You want to go to the nearest branch, and you can actually print the application and take the application, fill it out, and have the other information, and go there, sit with them, and make sure they are clear that you are applying for an EIN only business credit card, so that you're not getting a hard pull on your personal credit. Number 9, folks. Number 9, you need to know EIN only business credit card requirements. There is a large constellation of credit card requirements that are attached to EIN only business credit cards, and you need to know that. And by knowing that, you are not only making sure that you have the right information, so that when you go to apply, you are ready. Okay, so they want to have time in business, personal credit score, business credit score, annual business revenue and profits. We're going to put this on the screen. Bank statements, personal and business tax returns. You want to have a business plan. I've said this before. The business plan is the fulcrum of a solid business credit card application. It's a cornerstone of it. They want to have information about the industry, your entity type, the legal structure, that is, business licenses and permits, EIN, of course, your employer identification number, proof of collateral, balance sheet, copy of your commercial lease, if applicable to you, disclosure of other liabilities your business may have, accounts receivable and accounts payable aging. This is important for the lender, the credit card issuer, to know what's going on in your short-term financial statements, less than 1 year. They want to know more about your ownership and affiliations, and if applicable, legal contracts and agreements. So you want to have that. And last step number 10, last but not the least, folks, you want to close the deal. So here, you want to call the card issuer and get all relevant information if those are not available online. So the way it works is at first, you go online, you get the info, then you call the card issuer, and then you go there physically. If of course, this is a bank or a credit union, okay, online, phone, and then go physically. You gotta visit the branch. Very important. You want to speak to someone, you want to greet people, you want them to understand, you really want to explain to them and make sure that you provide all documentation that they might be required, and provide that documentation promptly, so that they know that you are serious and that your business is legit. If your business is legit, all the information they're asking you, you should have it on file. You want to ask all questions about the credit card before submitting the application. Please confirm that they will not do a hard pull. And if you're not sure about it, I would suggest that you lock your credit. All right, folks, this was it for today's conversation. I was speaking to you about how to get a high limit EIN only business credit card for poor or fair credit, guaranteed approval. And I've shown you the step-by-step, the proven methodology you need to apply to get the high limit EIN only business credit card. First, you want to know EIN only business financing. You want to plan things properly. You want to understand EIN-only business lenders. You want to structure your operation correctly. You want to get your paperwork ready. You want to know the types of EIN-only business cards. You want to choose your preferred card issuer. You want to shop around, very important. You want to know EIN-only business credit card requirements, and you want to close the deal. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. I'll see you another time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.